And that's what we're ready to look at right now is the chart. And it tells us what we need to do. Double click to add the chart. And when I do, that starts the Microsoft chart program that automatically comes in. And you can see that right away we are given some sample data to work with. Now this sample data is very helpful. You can see why. It shows you what the chart will look like. But it can also be your curse if you're not careful. When this chart comes in by default, it is given 4 columns of space, and that's here in the chart. But if you don't actually delete those columns, then PowerPoint is going to reserve that much space for your chart, even if you don't have that many. So here's the first thing I recommend you do after you've looked at your sample data, is click here at the intersection of the 2 axes, right-click, and say delete. That removes everything. You can see now we've just given a lobotomy to this chart. It no longer knows that it once had 4 columns. Now we can put our own data in. And I'm embarrassed to say that our data has 4 columns also. But if it didn't, then we'd have that problem. Okay, so across the top, we're putting our categories. And the first one is how many people who come to the conference subscribe to magazines that are exhibited at the conference. The second one is how many people join user groups while they're at the conference. The third is how many after the conference still have to hire consultants. And the fourth is how many people still call tech support. Okay? Now this one is run off of the little column width that we have here, and we could fix that if we wanted, but it's really not of consequence to us, because at this point these will take their place down here, and that's going to happen as soon as I add the other axis to the graph. As soon as I come in here and enter the labels here, which are before and after, you can see the graph taking shape now, before and after. All right, now for the numbers. Before the conference, 50,000 people subscribed to the magazine. Now I'm going to be cutting off the 3 zeros at the end, so we'll just call this 50. And there's you can see the chart taking shape as I go. 25,000 people were members of user groups, 25,000 people hired consultants, and 150,000 people called technical support. Okay, and again, the graph shifts automatically to accommodate all 4 of those numbers. Afterwards, 60,000 people subscribed to magazines. So the presence of the magazine editors at the conference resulted in 10,000 extra subscriptions through the various people who work for all the departments of the managers who came to the conference. Same thing with user groups. 10 extra thousand people joined user groups. Those who hired consultants remained unchanged. If you're addicted to consultants, you're going to call them no matter what. And here's the biggie, 125,000 people, 25,000 less, called tech support. So those are the numbers that we want to illustrate to Microsoft. So we are now done with this data sheet. So I can click on the little X to get rid of it. And I can always bring that data sheet back. And I can bring it back 2 ways. From the toolbar, right there, or I can right-click on the chart itself and choose data sheet. So I can always get back to the data sheet if I want to change my numbers later. The other thing that we can do to this graph is change the axes. And you can see that up on the formatting bar right here, where right now we are showing this by row, but we can click right here and very easily change this so that now the graph is showing by columns. You can see what this has done if you see the graph here, that now before is all lumped together, and then after is lumped together. This could be very useful in certain circumstances, but for now it's not, because what we really want to show is this dramatic difference right here. All right, now, as we look at this chart, it's pretty small. The numbers are too big, and notice here we only see 2 of our categories showing. As we start to work through this, that's going to change. Now, the first thing we want to talk about charts is all the different parts there are to it. And we can see that up on the formatting bar in this drop-down window right here. Here are all the different things, the different parts of this graph, and each one of those you can format. So you can choose them from here, But you know, sometimes like I have no clue what's what. Value axis, what's that? A wall, I guess I could imagine what that is. Here are the data series before and after. So what I often like to do is just click on the part I want to change in the chart itself. For instance, as I move across it, you can see it says value axis, and eventually I'd learn these things, maybe, maybe not. But if I click on it, now I have chosen the value axis and I'm ready to format it. There are two ways that I can get to a format dialog for this. One of them is back up on the toolbar right next to the drop-down where it says Format Axis, or I can right-click and choose it from there. Either way gets you there. Once we're here, the one thing that we want to do is change the font size and the style. So instead of numbers that are 18-point bold, I don't want any bold, and I want the numbers a little bit smaller. 16-point regular. That's going to work better. Okay? Now, I also want to do that down here and for the legend itself. But first we'll go to the category axis, as it's called. And what I want to point out this time is that we can do that straight from this toolbar here. So this time it's going to be 14-point. And instantly now you see, once I say 14-point bold and come back, now all four of them have room to show up as they're supposed to. Let's do the same thing with the legend, and we'll do that on screen again. 14-point, no bold, like so. The text down here